One slip of the wheel at 200 kilometers per hour. Need I say more? Gloves! I want to inform you about the pros and cons of 5 specific types. And for this particular video, I'm going to focus on the more affordable ones. I feel like a motherfucking ninja with these. Yes, you need them for racing. Yes, they will increase your performance. No, they don't have to be racing or simming specific gloves. And no, you don't have to go broke getting your hands on a set. All these gloves we're going to be looking at, we're looking at from a driving perspective, not a general use point of view. A lot of drivers out there, including myself, really don't like driving with bare hands. Your palms will get sweaty after a while, you'll get blisters, and you're going to wear your steering wheel unnecessarily. And the most underrated factor, you don't have consistent grip. Now, yes, your bare hands on a rubber wheel like this is going to render a whole lot of grip. That being said, as soon as they start sweating, they're going to start sliding everywhere. Same thing with an OEM wheel in your actual car. Please bear in mind, all of my experiences with OEM, rubber, or like synthetic materials. I haven't had many opportunities to play with, how do I say this? Alcantara, because vegans are so special, whatever. I haven't had many opportunities to play with suede wheels, so I'm not 100% sure what's best for those, but I do know that you most definitely need gloves for those. If you're new to the whole driving thing and wearing gloves in general, wearing them at first is going to feel really weird. The more you use it, the more you're going to get used to it, and you'll get to a point where driving without gloves is just going to feel wrong. Now, for each type of glove, I'm going to judge it based on 5 criteria. Number 1, the ease of getting them on or off your hand. Number 2, overall comfort. Number 3, how much do they slide or bunch up? Next is palm thickness and tactility. Number 4, durability. How long do they last? And lastly, and most importantly, style points. Are they sexy? I will assign a score of 0 to 3 points per category. 0 is garbage. 1 is not awesome, but it works. 2 leaves something more to be desired. And 3 could not get any better. Yes, we're demoing all of this in the sim, but I have used all except for 1 set in real life extensively, for both daily driving and spirited driving. I'm going to compare each of them as a standalone product, and only at the very end are we going to talk about price. I want you to realize which one is best for your needs specifically. And please let me clarify something first. Tactile is not to be confused with tactical. Tactical is cool guy warfare battle gun stuff that gives you an advantage in a fight. Tactile is how things feel and how it renders your sense of touch. If you are airsofting, a tactile set of gloves can render a tactical advantage. But other than that, there's not really much relation between these two words. Getting into the actual glove review, we are starting with this guy. I'm talking about this not because I love it. I actually thoroughly dislike these. I just want to get these out of the way. These are the only gloves that I have not used in real life driving because I hate them that much. They are made of sheepskin, okay? And although sheepskin is not inherently bad, leather is not inherently bad, these are just a size too large for me, and the leather is so soft, it flexes, it slides, it's not lovely. Whatever, let's get to the score. Number 1, ease of getting them on and off, 1 out of 3. It's not difficult getting them on or off, it's just cumbersome. This particular type of leather seems to stretch a lot, so I have to make an effort not to yank excessively when getting them on or off. They also have like this snap thing at the wrist, which is honestly just really annoying to address. Overall comfort, 1 out of 3. Look, they're not inherently uncomfortable as they're pretty soft inside. Let me turn one of these fingers inside out for you. You can see that there's a sizable seam on the inside that has a tendency to bunch up towards the fingertips, and it's honestly just very uncomfortable. They mess with your feeling of touch, and they're not horribly breathable either. They almost make your hands sweat more, oddly enough. Next metric, how much do they slide or bunch up? This gets a big fat 0. They bunch a moderate amount, and it is very annoying. They also have a tendency to slide around quite a lot, which is incredibly distracting and incredibly annoying. In watching the footage from when I was testing out different shoe-glove combos, you can see how much I was actually struggling with getting them to just simply like stay on my hands in a way that was manageable. I suspect if I had a size smaller, that problem would be gone completely. However, I'm working with what I got. Plus, if this snap pops loose, like you can see when it's tightened, like how fairly tight to my palm it is. But if this pops off, all of this, like I can fit a full finger under there. Do you know how much this sucks when you're trying to like grapple with a wheel? Your hands are just going to slide around like crazy. It's going to be very distracting. Palm thickness and tactility, 1 out of 3. They do have a relatively thin palm made of a softer leather, which really helps you feel the wheel. However, they're just kind of like sticky. I don't know what else to say. Something about the finish just makes it feel gross when using it. Like listen to this. That don't sound good. Sliding the wheel through the hand is also very inconsistent, and it is horrible for drifting or even simple hand-over-hand movements. Durability, 1 out of 3. These things don't last a long time. I've only had these for a few months, and I use them only while filming, and you can see like how much they're already wearing. Especially in the joint where the thumb meets the index finger, you can see it's literally starting to tear a little bit. All right, style points. Are they sexy? Full points on that one. Yes, they do look pretty slick. That's about the only thing they got going for them. They are white, they are easy to see, and these are my primarily used gloves whenever I'm filming, just because it's easier for you guys to see. Overall, they're very inconsistent with how they feel. They're moderately comfortable. Okay, now we have the Mechanics utility gloves. This particular set is about 5 years old, so they don't make them exactly like this anymore, but they do still make very similar models. Obviously, the newer version is going to be newer and improved and better than this one. I've gone through probably about a dozen sets of Mechanics gloves at this point, like to the point where they're like worn out and have been destroyed. These are my proper size, and they don't fit very well. It's very loose fitting, which, you know what, for some things like yard work, yeah, it's not bad, but for driving, these leave a lot more to be desired. Ease of getting them on and off. There is no Velcro. You see this red tab? You grab it, and as you can see, it's just elastic. Boom. Super easy to get on, super easy to get off. So 3 out of 3 for that one. Overall comfort, 2 out of 3. They don't suck for comfort, they're just not really awesome. Using the hole I wore on the side, you can see that there are some internal seams that are very feelable. And because they do shift around your hand a lot, it's very difficult to get fine motor movements nailed down. Now, bunching up and sliding, 1 out of 3. Slide a bit, they bunch up a bit. They're just not awesome all in all. Palm is a relatively thin material, and it is easy to grip the wheel well and slide the wheel. Reaching for the paddle shifters, though, will cause the materials to bunch a little bit. Palm thickness and tactility, 2 out of 3. The feeling that this particular material of leather renders is actually pretty decent. It renders for a good balance between grip and like actual feel. As far as durability goes, I'd give it a 2 of 3. They've taken a fair beating, but as you can see, like they're wearing at the seams, like they're just breaking at the parts that should be most cared for, you know? I did originally buy these 5 years ago as working gloves, and they have taken quite the beating with minimal holes, so I'm impressed with that. That being said, they were so uncomfortable and inconsistent in grip, I just switched to like the generic M-Pacts. All right, style points. Are they sexy? 1 out of 3. No, these, look at them. I mean, it's not unattractive, but it doesn't look sexy. All right, next up we got the Mechanics 0.5 millimeter high dexterity gloves. Firstly, ease of getting them on and off. All right, watch this. Here's my hand. I'm gonna hook this, and it's very easy to slide them on. And you can see with the Velcro strap, they're also easily secured. The little hoop at the base here is very solid and easy to grab. The Velcro is a bit of a pain though. It can be very tricky to get just right. Too loose and you have too much, I guess, movement around the base of the palm and the wrist. And too tight and your wrist is chafing and your hand's going numb mid-race. Overall comfort, 3 out of 3. These are quite lovely. You can see the seams on the inside are relatively small and they don't really mess with your sense of touch all too much. The material's also a bit softer, but still really sturdy. Let's get a good view of that going on. How much do they slide or bunch up? We're gonna give this a 2 out of 3. It really kind of depends on how tight the Velcro is. So long as you got the correct size for you, they don't slide too much, which is good. And the palm is a solid yet thin leather that offers a lovely balance of grip to feel. They do have a tendency to bunch up quite a lot. Not as much as the Auclair gloves. The palm isn't rubberized, but it still happens when twisting your hand around the wheel to reach for the paddle shifters. Say. Palm thickness and tactility, 3 out of 3. Look, these are super thin, and yes, there is a little bit of stitching on the palm, but it's so little and so slight you don't really notice it while wearing. With these, you can feel everything. Unlike most gloves, where you have a bit of excess material around the tip of the finger, these are snug to the point where I actually typed out a couple of paragraphs of the script that I'm reading right now while wearing these. I was genuinely surprised with how easy it was to use a keyboard with these guys. These basically feel like your bare hand. All they're doing is just eliminating the sense of temperature. Durability. How long do they last? 2 out of 3. Mainly because I'm not sure yet. Honestly, all things considered, it's a pretty solid construction, but they are super thin, so they are going to wear with use, you know? I did get them about a year ago, but I haven't really been using them much for driving just because of how much they bunch up. I do really appreciate how there are minimal seams present in this particular design, and the seams that are present are very small and very slight. Like, even just looking at this little wrist hook, this wrist loop thing, I was genuinely surprised with how sturdy of a construction this is. Now, that being said, this is the Achilles heel. The Velcro is going to wear. This, I'm not a huge fan of Velcro gloves because you're putting them on and off all the time, right? This is going to lose its so muchness. And as a result, it just won't Alice quite as well. I suspect that With proper use, the actual gloves are going to wear out before the Velcro, though. Style points. Are they sexy? Full points, 3 out of 3. Yes, I feel like a motherfucking ninja with these things. With the steering wheel, it is very easy to use your thumb to feel the buttons and everything that's going on. Next up, we have a type of glove that I've seen a lot of people try using for driving, but in my personal experience, it doesn't work too awesome. This is the type of glove that people will use in the cold Canadian winters to get by, and they are called Auclairs. Auclair is the specific manufacturer. That being said, Outdoor Research and other manufacturers make the exact same product. They fit very nicely underneath mitts. If you got to rip your mitts off to drive real quick or feel what's going on underneath your hand, these are pretty clutch in minus 40 degrees Celsius. Ease of getting them on and off. We're going to give that a solid 3 out of 3. Full point. Look at this. Here's the glove. Here's my hand. On. Off. That's the easiest it's going to get. Overall comfort, 3 out of 3. They're a very soft material, and they're very well fitted to the hand. They're lightweight and breathable, and even though, yes, there's a bit of a seam, like on the inside of the fingers, it is sizable and noticeable. But the material's so soft, it's actually kind of nice to feel, to be honest. How much do they slide or bunch up? That's a 1 out of 3. They don't slide around the hand because they're well fitted. That being said, they do bunch up a lot. I was trying these out the other day with paddle shifters, and it was quite distracting with how much they bunched up between my palm and the actual wheel. The material's almost too thin for a driving glove, and because of the rubber stippling, it has more grip with the steering wheel than it does your actual hand. So yeah, it's gonna bunch up. Of all the gloves we're gonna talk about today, this is the one that bunched up the most. All right, palm thickness and tactility, 2 out of 3. The palms and index finger are rubberized. They do offer a good amount of grip. Because the material is so thin, it's very easy to feel what's going on. That being said, it doesn't feel natural at times. Like, it doesn't feel like your bare hand on the wheel, and the grip is very inconsistent based on how you're holding the wheel. All right, durability. How long do they last? I'm going to give this a good 2 out of 3, actually. You can see after some wear and tear, there's a bit of a hole here. But, like, other than that, I'm surprised they're in as good condition as they are. I have done a good job to take care of these. I had a set of gloves just like this, made by Outdoor Research. And, they didn't make it to this video. They were sacrificial, shall we say. So these types of gloves don't last forever, but they can take a beating. Style points. Are they sexy? Yeah, I'm going to give that a good 1 out of 3. They don't look ugly. They're not sexy either. They're just black gloves. They do a good job at wicking away moisture, so overall these are pretty decent gloves. They just wouldn't really be my first choice for driving. Okay, next up we have my personal favorites, and they are the Mechanics Durahides. Ease of getting them on and off, 3 out of 3. Watch this. Getting them on, red tab, you pinch it, slap it on, you're done. Getting them off, you're done. It's a smooth and soft material on the inside, so it's actually quite, like, it's not harsh on the hand to just rip them on and off continuously. Overall comfort, I'm going to give them a good 3 out of 3. They are very comfortable. They are fairly light, and the top sides are fairly breathable. The palms being leather, it's not awesome, but it works. There is a bit of a seam to the inside, but honestly, it doesn't really bother you a whole lot. There's enough distance between the fingertip and all of this crap going on here that it doesn't really, it doesn't bug me. Okay, as far as sliding and bunching up goes, full points, 3 out of 3. As far as OEM rubber or synthetic wheels are concerned, this is the best for the grip to slide balance. Like, look at this. Fanatec wheel, okay? It's got a rubber surface. If I grab it and, like, grip moderately, you can see, like, there's a decent amount of grip. But if I loosen just enough, it's also easy to slide around. And my palm isn't bunching up. It's really hard to demo that in a way that the camera can see. But I can actually, like, move my hand around without the palm feeling all funky. Even though the leather's like worn down on the palm, if I apply a bit of squeeze, it renders tons of grip. The palm is a nice thick and sturdy material, like this particular type of leather, so it remains like flat between your palm of your hand and the wheel all the time. So, palm thickness and tactility, 2 out of 3. The leather palms are meant to take some pretty serious beating. Yes, you know what, some people might consider this particular glove a little bit too thick for driving, because you can't feel all the details underneath your hand. But personally, like, I kind of like it that way. I don't want to feel every little thing. When I'm bombing down a road at 200 kilometers per hour, I don't want to feel the textures or temperatures of the wheel or anything like that. All I care about is consistent grip and things that aren't going to trigger my sense of touch. And it's the same thing with the shifter. By muscle memory, I know exactly where it is, and I can't feel the little details of the rubber texture if I'm not paying attention for it. So no, it's not the best for tactility, but that might be preferable. I like these in general, not because they're the best for grip or they're the best for feel, but because of how consistent they are. It doesn't matter if I'm using my sim wheel or my OEM wheel in my Fiesta in real life. Like, it's the same general feel all the time, and that's what I want. It's just one less thing for my brain to process. Durability. How long do they last? 3 out of 3. Honestly, these have lasted a very long time. This specific set was originally used as work gloves back when I was carrying around big pieces of machinery, wooden pallets, sandbags, you name it. Based on what I was doing for my job, I decided that I wanted to use M-Pacts instead, as they just made my life easier. The reason I bought these in the first place, I actually forgot my M-Pacts that I was using for driving at the time. I was on my way to a driver training session and I realized, oh crap, I don't have my gloves. So I went into a crappy tire looking for M-Pacts, and this is the closest they had. And they've more or less been my driving gloves ever since, because they're just a little bit better. I've had these for about 3 years now, using them pretty well mainly for driving, and they are still kicking. Are they sexy? Meh. I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 3. They don't look unattractive, but they're not glorious looking. I do like the neutral and natural colors though, that's quite nice. Overall, it doesn't matter what discipline of driving I'm doing, or if I'm in real life or the simulator, these are my go-to gloves. I must make an honorable mention for conventional mechanics M-Pacts though. Most types of gloves that mechanics make, they make an M-Pact version as well. It's basically just adding rubber to the knuckles and tops of the fingers. You really don't need them for driving. The conventional or OG M-Pacts have an extra layer of material sewn into the palms. Like, that extra layer is going to peel off over time, and it really doesn't do you any favors for driving. They do perform very similar to Durahides, maybe even a little bit better. They are not as comfortable, as they all have extra padding, and it honestly makes your hands sweat a little bit more because of that rubber insulation. I do recommend them overall as a glove, just maybe not as a first choice for spirited driving. I'm not going to assign a score to them because I don't have a set with me here today, because I've worn through all of them. However, I do recommend considering them at the very least. Alright, so here's the overall score for each glove. Sheepskin coming in last, totaling at 7 points. Go figure. Now, next, Auclairs and the utilities. Now, for our top glove, we have 2 different kinds. We have the 0.5mm and we have the Durahides, both coming in at 15 points. All right, now let's talk about money. When I bought the sheepskins, they were 45 bucks off Amazon. Honestly, not a terrible price for a product like that. It's just too bad they didn't really turn out the way I was hoping they would. The Auclairs are going to run you about $23, but you're going to have to order them off the website directly. I can't find them on Amazon anywhere, but I did provide a link. The next 3 are all the mechanics gloves. Cheapest of the 3 being the utility. The cheapest one I could find, 20 bucks. Not bad. The next priciest one was actually the Durahide, believe it or not, at $25. Not a whole lot more. The most expensive of the 3, 0.5mm high dexterity gloves. I was kind of surprised at this one just because there's less material, but then again, it kind of makes sense. It's harder to manufacture, and it's harder to manufacture well, especially something so thin. Like, yes, it'll have a shorter lifespan, but you can feel everything, and they're surprisingly durable as is. They are worth considering, I'm just saying. Alright, so again, with those M-Pacts I was mentioning, depending on the style and where you get them from, M-Pacts can range anywhere from $30 to $80. It just depends on the particular model that you want to get. I'm going to provide a generic link for them in the description, just so you can see like what I was talking about. So, in conclusion, the only reason you're going to see me use the sheepskins so much is because of aesthetics. These gloves are an absolute pain to use. They are very distracting, they are very annoying, they're not comfortable, and overall just very cumbersome. The reason I keep using them is because in my videos, whenever I'm doing driving, it's easier for you to see out of the corner of your eye what's going on with my hands.
That's right, you gotta have a trademark, gotta stand out.
So by you dropping a like, it's telling me that you appreciate the grind for the nice aesthetic of these videos. Honestly, man, like as soon as the camera's off and I boot up the sim, I'm reaching for the Durahides. In addition, whatever you decide to make your official driving gloves, they shouldn't be used for anything else. They should be used for driving and driving only. Not yard work, not cleaning up messes. They're not used for spinning wrenches or changing oil. They are used for driving, okay? You want to keep the material clean. The cleaner you keep the material of the palm, the more consistent your grip is going to be with the wheel. Honestly, you might even want to consider keeping a little microfiber cloth in your glove box, or like right next to your sim like this one, just so you can wipe the wheel every now and again, because crap and corruption will accumulate. And you just want to make sure that that's eliminated as much as possible to keep that grip consistent. Consistency is your most important factor. Don't forget that. If you're not sure which kind you should get, I would advise Durahides. Pretty good bang for buck. They form nicely to your hand over time. I don't think you can go wrong with them. Everybody's different, and you may decide that you actually want to go with a completely different style of driving glove that was not at all mentioned in this video. Good on you. Put it in the comments so I can see what people are actually using, you know? I want to know why too. Like if there's a certain glove that you really like, I want to know the nitty gritty as to why. I'm open to trying new kinds of gear as well. If you want to suggest a different type of gloves, just put in the comments. Everyone can see it. Put why. And then I might even get a set and try them out. Now, I have provided links for all of these products in the description. Full disclosure, the Amazon links specifically are affiliate links to me. What that means is if you click on that link, it takes you to the Amazon page, right? You don't even have to buy those gloves. You can like go somewhere else and buy something else. But to no extra cost to you, whatever you pay, I get a percentage of. So by helping yourself, you're helping me as well. Pretty good relationship, right? The Auclair gloves are the only one that I don't have an affiliate link to. And frankly, if you live in a place where you have to deal with winter, I would highly recommend getting a set of Auclairs. It's not an affiliate link. I won't be getting anything for that purchase, but they are pretty good quality and I do recommend the brand. That's all the glove stuff you're going to get today. I'm Looney Lou. Thank you for sitting in on Lou Cartoons. Stay tuned, my goons. I feel like a motherfucking ninja with these. Gloves! 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 Excuse me.